Hey, thank you for watching my video. If you like it, please feel generous and hit that like button. Today we're going to replace some of the automatic transmission fluid in a 2010 Nissan Titan Pro4x. So what I'm working on right now is your dipstick, and it's going to take you a 10mm wrench to break that little bolt free, and then your dipstick will slide out of there. If you think that that was just a cap to cover up your dipstick hole, it is actually a dipstick. The Nissan Titan back in the day did have a dipstick. I know the newer vehicles do not, which is unfortunate for us. With that little bolt out, we can pull our dipstick out, and so I just wanted to see how bad the job was going to be when I got into it, and even wiping off the dipstick, my towel got pretty brown. So I pretty much believe that most vehicles with an automatic transmission should have the automatic transmission fluid changed more regularly than the manufacturer tells you to. This particular truck right now has 135,000 miles on it. We're working on removing the 17mm, I'm sorry, this is a 19mm drain plug on the bottom. And this truck, you'll see right now, that is the wrong color for automatic transmission fluid. That is the wrong color. So at 135,000 miles, I don't know if the transmission fluid has ever been changed before. Maybe it was flushed at 60,000, something like that, but that fluid is really dark. So I've put the 19mm drain plug back in and tightened it up, and now I have a pair of diags, and I'm just pinching the little plastic clip that holds this wire loom there's two little brackets that are bolted onto the transmission cover. This will allow me to push that wire out of the way and not break the little retaining clips that holds that in place. So usually in my videos I don't use air tools, but I found with automatic transmissions it's just so much faster to use an air ratchet. I'm getting lazy in my old age, and I'm just going to work my way around the pan. I'm going to leave 2 bolts in the front of the pan and 2 bolts in the back of the pan to hold it into place. So you see the pan just broke free from the truck. If the previous owner of the truck used proper gaskets and filters and stuff, this job's really easy to do. This gasket that's on this pan is definitely the OEM gasket. This pan's never been off. I would imagine if anything was done to this fluid, it was probably flushed at one time. But as dark as the fluid was, I kind of doubt that it was even flushed. So I've got a big metal pan on the ground. I moved that into place because there's going to be a lot of automatic transmission fluid that dumps out of this pan. There's a good quart, maybe more, in the bottom of this pan that doesn't drain out. So the two rear screws are out, and get that last one out of the way there. And then I got to remove the two in the front that are still there. And then this pan will just fall out of the way. You definitely want to keep your hand on the pan, and you want to keep this pan kind of tight on the transmission until you get all these screws out. You're going to understand what I mean right about now when I dump all this leftover fluid that's in the pan, once it dumps off into my catch container that's underneath me. So here it goes. So you saw what color that is. That is definitely the wrong color for automatic transmission fluid. So here's the gasket. This is the OEM gasket that Nissan put on this truck in 2010, and it just peels off. You know, it's not like the old GM cars or something that you have to sit there for an hour with the scraper and scrape the gasket material off the transmission, off the pan. Nissan knows what they're doing. They used a quality gasket back in the day, and it stays in one piece and it pulls off. And right now we're cleaning the magnets. So there's two magnets in the bottom of this pan. What they don't tell you when you go to the dealership and they try to sell you that automatic transmission fluid flush, they don't tell you that your filter and the bottom of the pan and these magnets is never going to get clean. So all of the flushing in the world is not going to get all the funk and gunk and junk that is on the bottom of this pan out of your engine, out of your transmission. So it's always a great idea to remove the pan, pop these magnets off. You see the magnets all hairy. I really was expecting the magnets to be a lot dirtier than what they are. For as dark as the fluid that came out was, I was expecting just a lot of debris on those magnets. So magnets are kind of sort of wiped off. Now I'm going to wipe all the sludge off the bottom of this pan. And as you can see, you know, this pan came pretty clean. It's nice now, and the truck does appreciate it. I took the truck out for a drive. It shifts a lot smoother now. It's just everything's better. But I also changed the engine oil at the same time. And that always makes a difference when you go from whatever the Nissan dealership put in it, which I bought this truck from a Nissan dealer. And any dealership that's selling you a used truck, if they even change the oil, they're not putting a good quality oil back into the truck. So I would imagine that the Nissan dealership that I bought this truck from, they changed it when they took it in on trade. So it probably had some dyno oil in it or something, but I've got Mobil 1 in it now, and I did put Matic S back into this transmission. So the pan is clean now. The magnets are wiped clean. Magnets are back into the pan. Now it's time to put the gasket on. Look how clean that is. That's nice. It's almost like somebody that halfway knows what he's doing did this. So here's what I use, the ATP Automotive, and this is a B327 kit, B327. You can usually get these on eBay anywhere from $15 to $20. It's cheaper to buy this kit than it is just to buy the gasket by itself. This kit, I use this kit on pretty much every Nissan that I've owned, with the exception of my 370Z. My 370Z takes some weird kit, but this kit is the same kit for a 350Z, same kit for your Frontier if you have a Frontier with the V6, same kit if you have an Infiniti G35. This would be the kit. Nissan did a great job of using, I guess it's the same transmission in all these different vehicles. If it's not the same transmission, it's the same transmission pan in all these vehicles. And what you're watching me do right now, this is going to be the best tip that I can give you today, is put your screws in the pan while you have the pan on the ground. So this is going to save you a lot of hassle and heartache later when you're laying up underneath the vehicle, getting everything lined up. So this kit, this B327 kit that you buy on the interwebs, that gasket, that pan gasket, pan seal, whatever you want to call it, it is a really nice, flexible rubber seal. You can use it a couple times. I'm going to reuse this one in about 9,000 miles. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this entire service again, just so I can get more of that dirty fluid out of the system. Remember, there is fluid still in the system. The torque converter is full of fluid, and that fluid is pretty nasty. But again, this is the best tip that I can show you today. Go ahead and just push those screws through the pan. That rubber gasket material will absolutely hold these screws into place. And there you go. So back underneath the truck. So you see me drawing on the filter there. I wasn't going to change the filter out. The filter is OEM Nissan, and because I didn't find that much debris in the pan, I was thinking I'm gonna go ahead and just leave the filter on the truck. But once I run my finger across that filter and I saw how nasty the bottom of it was, all I could think of was the inside is probably just as nasty. And since I already have a new filter, let's go ahead and put the new filter on. The next time I do this job, I will not be replacing the filter. I would say that these filters are probably good for the lifetime of the truck, the lifetime of the vehicle. There's not really too much to a Nissan automatic transmission filter. It's kind of just a metal box with a plastic screen. In my younger years, when I was much poorer and I couldn't afford $20 for this kit, I would just go ahead and put the filter in the solvent tank and clean it out. Even that you probably don't need to do. So all the screws are out, the filter's out, so it is pretty dirty on the outside. The screen itself was clear, so I know there wasn't any big particles. I did inspect it when I took it off. Now we're going to line up the new one. Nissan puts these two studs that stick down. For some reason they decided not to use screws on all of them, but there's 3 studs that stick down that you need to line up, and if you push on them too hard, those studs do go back up into the transmission they'll fall back out, but it's just kind of a pain the way they did it. So once you get all your screws back onto the filter, and I did skip around a lot in this video. Nobody wants to see a 2-hour video of changing the automatic transmission fluid. This is probably maybe an hour and 15 minutes to get this job start to finish. Luckily it's a Nissan Titan, so you don't really have to jack it that high in the air. But once you get your filter back into place and tighten up your screws, do put a torque wrench on these screws and tighten them down. You do need a torque wrench. The torque specs you're going to find in your manual call for foot-pounds. Do the math, translate it down to inch-pounds, and use an inch-pound torque wrench. If you put a foot-pound torque wrench on this project, you're going to snap off these little screws. So, you know, listen to me, and make sure you do use a torque wrench on these. You do not want a screw falling out of your automatic transmission filter and dropping off into your transmission. Nothing good comes from that. Nothing good will come from that. So once these are torqued down, this may be the most difficult part of the whole project, is putting that filter back on, because putting the filter on is just messy. Everything's still dripping on you. If you drove your truck like I did to get everything warmed up before you took it apart, your air conditioner's right there at your head dripping on you. It's just nothing fun about it, but your truck will sure appreciate it when it's done. I ran out of daylight when I was doing this. I started this at about 6 o'clock in the evening, and it was probably about 8 o'clock by the time I got the oil changed, and it was getting dark. But I still need to change the gear oil in the differentials and in the transfer case, so that's on my to-do list. And I'm gonna buy those braided brake lines. On my last Nissan Titan, I had a 2004 Nissan Titan, and I replaced pretty much everything in the brake system. The brakes were really spongy. The fluid got kind of dirty on me. I was pulling a heavy trailer. I had 2.5 pallets of shingles on the trailer, and I didn't think the truck was going to stop. So after that, I went around. I replaced all the rotors, all the calipers, the parking brake shoes, the parking brake, the regular pads, and I put braided lines on, and then fresh brake fluid, and that made the truck stop like it was brand new again. So we've got the pan on. We're just getting the screws tight. Just snug is all we're doing. Just snug. And I am bouncing around on this one too, because this is kind of tedious. There's a lot of screws there. There's almost 30 screws that hold this pan on. So if you watch me put all these in here, you've got a lot of patience to watch a video. I would have already skipped ahead. I wouldn't have been watching all this. The commentary's not that good. But anyway, you want to get these just snug, and then you want to put your torque wrench on all these screws also. Again, the torque specs are in your manual. I don't give torque specs in any of my videos, so don't flame me for not putting the torque specs in the video, because I'm not doing it. I don't do it. It saves from somebody with a different truck watching this video thinking they're watching the correct one and, you know, bashing me because the torque specs are wrong in my video for a 2010 Nissan Titan Pro4x. It might be different for a different vehicle, but it is not. They're all pretty much the same. All the Titans up until they changed it in 2017. So I've got a torque wrench on it now. I'm going around because the torque specs aren't that high. The little click that an inch-pound torque wrench makes isn't much. It just kind of stops turning for about a quarter inch and lets you know that you're done. You're done tightening them down. But again, I would say, and don't quote me on this, but if you tightened all these screws down and you think you got them tight where they should be, with this rubber gasket that's on the pan, you're probably going to be okay. The company that makes this kit really makes a nice gasket, and the gasket's the only reason I buy their kit. If you had to buy the gasket alone's over $20. So here's the fluid I pulled out. I have almost 4.5 quarts sitting in the jugs that I dumped out of the automatic transmission. I would have expected 7 quarts to come out of this transmission. Typically when I do a Titan or a Frontier, I'm getting 6.5 quarts out. Why I only got 4.5 quarts out, I don't know. But I put 4.5 quarts back in, and I drove it. I came back and let it sit a little bit, and it started back up while it was still hot. Here's Matic S, Nissan Matic S, what we're putting in it. And I was a little bit low. I was below the hot level, so I added the other half a quart to take me to 5 quarts, and it got me back to the hot level on the Dipstick. So right now I'm just driving it. I'm gonna put a few miles on it, and I will check it in a few days and make sure that I'm still at that hot level. It'll be easier to check too once all that fluid gets circulated a few thousand times out of that torque converter and turns all this beautiful pink red Matic S brown. It makes it a lot easier to check on the Dipstick. It would have been nice if Nissan would have gave us, you know, like a shiny polished Dipstick, wouldn't it? So we could actually see where the fluid level is. But they weren't that generous to us. But like I said, I put 5 quarts back in it. If you're doing this job and you don't want to buy a whole case, I buy the Matic S by the case, because everything I own that has 4 wheels is a Nissan. And it's pretty cheap if you buy this Matic S by the case. But you could probably get by with doing just 6 quarts. Do not go to Walmart and buy automatic transmission fluid off the shelf that says it's rated for a Nissan. You need to buy Nissan Matic S automatic transmission fluid. Nothing else. Don't buy anything else but OEM automatic transmission fluid. This goes the same if you're driving a Chevy, a Ford, a Honda. They built those transmissions with a specific fluid in mind, and the aftermarket sellers just don't have the same the same fluid type. So I hope this helped you. Thanks for watching my video.